Welcome to the Butter Notes podcast with three guys who have no business listening to music, much less talking about it. All right, welcome back to the Butter Notes podcast. This is your co-host, Jim. We have the 11th Raw Beef here today. It's been a hot second since we recorded one of these. We did the episode 10 Retrospektiw and took a little break from Raw Beef, but now we're back.
Now we're slinging
got three
beef.
albums today that have basically nothing in common.
Oh, I would say absolutely nothing in common. I think about that all the time. I was thinking about this the other day. Which Raw Beef?
Who are you?
If you were to... Oh, this is Charles Barkley.
God damn it, we're doing it again.
This is Charles Barkley here.
Jesus Christ. Who's talking?
This is Jake here with the Butter Notes podcast with my co-hosts Jim and Tone. I was thinking about this the other day. Which Raw Beef would be the weirdest if you were to like play these for someone who never heard them and play them back to back to back? Which one would be like the most jarring transition between albums? I think this is up there.
This is up there, but Dr. Octagon and
Immunity and
Artificial Brain.
And Artificial Brain. That's a fucking weird.
That might be that's the high point in that for sure.
And this is Tone talking, and I do think all three of these albums are like fairly atmospheric, which might be a through line for these three. But atmospheric in very different ways.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe less so on the second album, but yeah. So we should hop in the first album here, I guess. So first album is Within the Realm of a Dying Sun by Dead Can Dance, 1987. So this is an album that I found through a Steven Wilson suggestion. Not even a suggestion, actually. It was one of those along with Felt, which was in the, I guess, was like Raw Beef 3 or 4. I can't remember. But it was in that line from Hand Cannot Erase from Perfect Life where the girl's doing the voiceover, and she mentions Felt, This Mortal Coil, and Dead Can Dance. So, of course, because I was impressionable young prog fan and wanted to check out everything that the Prince of Prague liked, I had to check out these bands. And I came upon Dead Can Dance, and I've gone through their entire discography. I pretty much ran through the entire thing, and there's a couple albums I was considering picking for this, but I ended up with Within the Realm of a Dying Sun, if not just because the album title is really cool and the album artwork is really cool. It's kind of just picking between them. This is from a genre which I guess is known as neoclassical darkwave, which is a candidate for the nerdiest subgenre or genre of music. I think you tell people you listen to neoclassical darkwave or that's your favorite genre, you probably don't have many friends, and I can attest to that. Yeah. This album is, I don't know. So it's really like, I look at all the descriptors here. The thing I think of is like Gregorian chant. It's like talking about the like end of times. Like that's how I feel about this album. And I saw someone describe it as like if a bunch of D&D nerds got together and made a bunch of music that was on a loop on a Castlevania fan page on the internet, that this is what you would get. I kind of feel that with like the medieval like chanting, the kind of tribal parts going through. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really strange album, and it's structured in a really interesting way. So basically, the first half of the album, you mostly get Brendan Perry doing the vocals, and on the second half, you get much more of the kind of like wispy, more tribal stuff with Lisa Gerrard on the vocals. But yeah, this was a pleasant surprise when I found it. It's probably one of my, I'd say, top 100 favorite albums. That along with the predecessor album Spleen and Ideal, which I might like more than this one. I think Anthony, you said the same as well. But yeah, what did you guys think about this?
Spleen and Ideal has like that post-punk vibe to it in combination with the dark wave that I really liked, where the post-punk goes away entirely on Dying Sun. Dead Can Dance are pretty famous. They've been a band I've been meaning to check out for a long time. They're on Prog Archives under Prog Folk, which some of their albums have folk elements, but prog folk doesn't make any sense for them. I don't even really think they should be on Prog Archives, really. Maybe prog related, but I don't really hear any progressive rock in Dead Can Dance. Yeah, this album, I don't really think that Dying Sun is like a nerdy album. It's like, I mean, it kind of has like, it's like sort of proto dungeon synth maybe, which is what a lot of video game music is based off of. So maybe like some nerdy subcultures took some influence from music like this, but I don't really think this is like a nerdy album. It's like, if anything, it's like sort of like religious in like a medieval way. And I don't think it's like religious in the sense that it's like trying to like, I don't think it's like communicating a religious message or anything. I definitively don't think it's doing that, but it has like this like very darkly spiritual tone to it that's like really, really, it's hard to verbalize. Honestly, it's a hard album to talk about. It's like this album like definitely gets under your skin in a way that's disturbing, but is also like very like fulfilling. It's like cathartic, I guess.
Catharsis. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's the same catharsis that you get from bloodletting.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know. I've never done that.
Blood. This album sucks your blood. I
I'll
mean,
take your word for it.
what's the male singer's name?
Oh, Brendan Perry.
Yeah, he is like Sinatra if Sinatra didn't swing and was also a vampire.
So somebody described him as a mix between Sinatra and Scott Walker, which I think is like the most apt comparison that you could make. And that's high praise for a vocalist. Who's Scott Walker?
Yeah,
he was like a '60s Baroque pop artist. And
he went on to do like highly experimental dark ambient work. In like his later life.
Yeah, there's a track from the Scott 3 on the first one that's raining today, and it's like, yeah, it's really experimental. And you get some of that on this as well. There's like this really like nervous violin playing underneath, and it just plays the entire time. It's just like this really like hanging suspenseful violin, and then this like really like happy kind of guitar is playing, and he's just singing about how it's raining today, and it's kind of dreamy and wistful, but there's like this really like nervous undertone to it. And I think that's kind of maybe what you're saying, Anthony, in a way. Like, that's kind of how I feel about it. It's like uplifting and spiritual, but it's also really dark. I think it's apocalyptic. I think of like the end of the world when I think of this kind of music. I don't know.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a lot of post-rock in that sense. Although I don't know how many post-rock bands cite Dead Can Dance as an influence, but it wouldn't surprise me if a lot do. And it is very much like neoclassical darkwave I haven't really heard that much of, and I was always sort of skeptical of the neoclassical descriptor, but it's definitely accurate, at least for this album, which is kind of like the neoclassical darkwave album. And it's like very Baroque or like almost pre-Baroque. Like you're not getting like, it's not like classical in the sense of like a symphony by Beethoven or something. It's classical in like what you'd hear in like some cathedral in like 1450 or something. Like
it's using like I don't really know the theory of it, but it's using like medieval like modal scales, like the melodic progressions that you would hear in a lot of that in like a Catholic church or something.
Yeah, it's definitely not what you would hear like the way that classical music is played in like, I don't know, like symphonic Prague or something. It's like not at all that. So neoclassical might not be the word I'd use, but I guess I can't think of a better word, so I guess I'll roll with that as the genre title.
Yeah, what is dark wave exactly?
I couldn't define it really.
I think it's
really, really close. Big dark wave influence on Coffins on IO by K.O.
It's like a dark brooding synth, like underlying the progression of the music, kind of. I think that's kind of what constitutes it.
Dark wave is kind of like, I don't know if like hardcore connoisseurs of darkwave would agree with this definition, but it's kind of like dark ambient, but with more rhythm. It's kind of how I've always understood it. And kind of what it sounds like to me.
Do you think Varg was listening to this in the 90s?
I mean, like the dungeon synth stuff on Burzum is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Varg was listening to this. Who fucking knows what Varg was doing? But
well, he was killing people.
But yeah, he was doing that. There is. He was doing crimes,
burning churches and shit.
Although I don't know, like you can definitely hear black metal. Definitely. I don't know if there is actual influence. Like I don't know how many black metal artists like say that they like Dead Can Dance, or would admit to it. But I can definitely hear a progression in the Norwegian black metal scene from this, especially in the electronic stuff.
I mean, it could have a common source. James and I were talking about that in the last episode with like the Beatles and bluegrass. So like I didn't know that one was the influence on the other, but they might have a common source of influences. So it could be something like that. Because I don't know if you all listened to the debut album, but it's much more goth rock, much more of a rock base to it than what's happening on this album. And it could just be that there's a common source for both of them, rather than Varg listening to this and going, "Yeah, that's cool. Let me incorporate some of that." I mean, I don't know. You'd have to ask him, and I don't really want to ask that guy if he listened to this band. And so yeah, there's also I was thinking. So the history of this band's interesting. So Brendan Perry and Lisa Gerrard met in Melbourne, Australia, and so we have them listed as an Australian band for the raw beef purposes. But I think all of their music was recorded and released under the 4AD label in London. So I think that's a really interesting bit, and it's been basically then they've brought in I think Peter Ulrich was another person they brought in, but they bring in like a rotating musicians on various instruments, but it's mostly been like the artistic vision has been mostly them. And I don't know if they're still in a relationship. They were in a romantic relationship at one point early in the band's career, but I don't know if that's continued. Not that it makes any difference, but I think that's also a really interesting dynamic.
I think I remember reading somewhere like a long time ago that like they broke up and one of the albums is like, and that's like heavily reflected on one of the albums. I don't know which one it is. It might be this one. I don't know.
It might be just because of the way it's structured. I mean, it's Brendan Perry's kind of all over the first part. The opening track, Xavier, is like all Brendan, and then like you get Dawn of the Iconoclast, which is really like Lisa's coming out party on this album, I think, where you really start getting more of her vocals. So it would have surprised me if this album. I don't know the history of the band that well, but yeah, I think for our purposes, we decided they were Australian just because that's their origins, and they are Australian. So I think it made most sense. But in a lot of ways, they also are a UK band. I mean, they're a product of like UK record label, or at least were discovered by UK record label. So that's significant as well, even though we're not counting them as a UK band.
Yeah, and I mean that post-punk goth of the first two albums is very, very British.
Yeah,
it's a British aesthetic, and it's all over the first two albums. There's really nothing British about Dying Sun, though.
No, Serpent's Egg either. If you go to the next album, it's another really quick, brooding kind of. It's in the vein of this album. Aeon's.
I do. It's more Transylvanian than Australian or British.
Yeah.
I do. you get. I guess you get like a really heavily vampiric vibe from this album.
Dude, it sucked my blood every time I listen.
It's Halloween. It's Halloween music, man. I think of this. I listen to this on Halloween. It's one of the ones I play. I listen to this if I'm playing Dark Souls or something. Put it in the background. I don't know. Maybe my
soundtrack to Bloodborne.
Yeah, maybe my associations with it is nerdy, and that's why I think it's nerdy. It goes well with that kind of stuff, but. I don't know. It is kind of nerdy music, even if it is really popular stuff. I don't think it was commercially super successful when it came out, but I think, like, retrospectively, people have looked at it and said, yeah, this is like some all-time great music. They were a big deal in the 80s. I'm not taking anything away from them, but it wasn't like... This is still kind of like somewhat underground kind of music. Although 4AD did have another really big band. I can't remember who it was that they... produced, put out.
4AD are a pretty famous label.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was awesome. I'm glad I finally checked out Dead Can Dance. I've been meaning to for a really long time. 4AD put out Cocteau Twins, which
Cocteau Twins. Yes,
I knew that, and makes
you hear a lot of Cocteau Twins on the first album. I think not a lot, but that you hear the influence on the first.
Fucking love Cocteau Twins. Yeah, this album kicked ass, man. I've listened to this 3 times now. Absolutely love it.
I wasn't sure what to expect when I shared it, but this is another thing. Say what you want about Steven Wilson. I think he's listening to a lot of progressive music. When I first found this stuff, I would have just written it off, and like, good for him for evangelizing stuff that like to progressive music fans. Like, hey, there's good music that's not progressive or like in the progressive wheelhouse.
Yep.
It was good to get me out of that shell. So this is some music where it kind of did that. Because I was firmly in that at one point where I was like, I just don't want to hear it if it's not prog metal or prog rock. And there was stuff I was listening to that was fun, but yeah.
I was unfortunately that way, but I think I was younger than you were when you were that way.
I'm still that way.
Well, I mean,
don't know
I got
what you guys
into it
are
later,
talking about.
but yeah.
If it's not Dream Theater, I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, when you're, I think it's when it makes the impression on you. I find that progressive music, like a lot of metal subgenres, jazz and classical are like breeding grounds for musical elitism that we don't see in a lot of other genres. I think other genres create other weird kinds of people, but those four genres seem to have the most forms.
Which genres again?
Certain forms of metal, subgenres of metal, a lot of progressive rock, classical music, and jazz can create a lot of, like, in their communities. I'm not saying the musicians themselves were or anything like that. I'm just saying a lot of it can create a lot of that amongst the fans. It's like,
yeah, you see that all over the place.
Yeah, I don't see it as much in like country music or.
There's definitely some of that in like the bluegrass world.
Yeah, and folk
there are
too.
definitely country purists.
Well, yeah,
definitely folk purists.
Yeah. I'll hold my tongue on that. Yeah,
like those people who like screamed Judas at Dylan in the '60s when he brought an electric guitar on stage, which is like a really famous incident.
It's so fucking stupid. Jesus Christ!
You've heard about that incident, right?
Yeah. I mean, that kind of puritanism is just—it's absolutely ludicrous.
There's something ironic. I don't know if it's actually ironic, but something ironic about it to me. People from California who get mad, who are bluegrass elitists. I always find that really funny. But anyway, that's all I'll say about that.
Little Appalachian pride here from
bizarre and nonsensical diss on California from Big Jake.
Fuck California.
Well, by California, you mean L.A. and San Francisco, but...
Oh, yeah, no, everyone else is cool, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next album.
We just lost our last fan.
Jake has a demerit.
Just one?
A fucking black dot on the report card. This next album is kind of a black dot in its own right. It's
fun for the whole family.
Got Take As Needed for Pain by Eyehategod. Fun for the whole family, both the album title and the band name and the lyrical content.
So
Man,
the lead
this is
singer,
some down and dirty shit, dude.
The lead singer, when they recorded this, I forget the lead singer's name. He was living in a room above a strip club, in a sleeping on like a flea infested mattress. And they record, and the studio.
I was just reading about this.
And the studio was like in this like abandoned New Orleans like dockside warehouse that is where they recorded it. And yeah, there's like this particular like, I guess I'll just make this comment now because it flows. There's like this particular southern misery all over here. It's a very southern album.
People in the South, a lot of people in the South are broken people, man. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I
had a feeling Jake would
I can
agree.
definitely hear the New Orleans. I'm not sure I hear the South in general.
Not
like this band. This band could only be from New Orleans.
Yeah, like not really like maybe in the riffs or anything, but like in the general mood and tone. There's like this uniquely southern pain to this, like the sort of like grinding poverty that is like that, like you can only really get in the South.
Yeah. I see what you.
I'll listen to some bluegrass sometimes, or some country, like old school country music, and we'll pick up on that. Like these are broken people who are writing this stuff, and it's just I don't know. It's just like a really like desperation in that kind of communicates across it. I mean, it's much more on the surface with this, just the themes they're dealing with on this album. But yeah, I definitely agree with what you said, Tom.
Yeah, and it's not like there's like when you think of southern music, you think of like bluegrass, country, blues, stuff like that. There's not really any of that here. Maybe a little bit of blues, like tangentially, but not enormously.
God, yeah. There's tons of blues. It's like down-tuned Sabbath riffs.
Yeah, like there's blues.
There's a huge blues connection.
Yeah, but like any band with a Sabbath influence has the blues connection because Sabbath does. So yeah, that's there, but I don't really think it's like extremely southern in that sense. It's more the tone that I think is very southern.
Yeah, this is some depressing shit, man. It is just absolutely dirty, start to finish.
I loved it. This album got under my skin.
Yeah, this one for sure.
It's a mood album, really. Like, if you try to like parse the riffs or anything, like a lot of it is samey and it's kind of repetitious. But it's really a mood album, and the way it makes you feel, and like it takes you on like a journey, kind of like through the grime and sludge of the human psyche. and when listened to that way, which is the right way to listen to it, it's like insanely well done. But also something I need to like. I can only listen to every once in a while.
This album sounds like Smog. Did you ever see the movie Fern Gully?
No, I never saw it.
You guys never saw that?
Isn't that like a pretty like scary kids cartoon from the 90s?
Yeah, it's a pretty fucked up cartoon.
Yeah, I've seen Fern Gully.
But there's a scene in Fern Gully with this like fucking evil factory thing that's alive in some way, and it starts consuming the forest, and I think that's just the sound of this album. It's the evil factory from Fern Gully.
It's the soundtrack to a tumor metastasizing is what it is.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack to like getting fucked up on smack in your rented out like closet at the strip club.
Yeah.
Yo, and
your trailer behind the strip club.
Yeah.
The tracks. What is it? Is it Kill Your Boss, I think, and
what a
Laugh It
bass
Off.
song title.
So those two tracks are incredibly disturbing. Like,
yeah, the sampling is another thing that makes it very Southern, is because, and that's also all over their debut album, In the Name of Suffering. In the Name of Suffering, there's the sample of like this preacher who's like being kind of vulgar. He's like, I don't give a shit about your fucking society. And he's like talking about how like Jesus is. Did you listen to that, Jake? Did you listen to that? Yeah. He's like basically talking about how like Jesus is your redemption from society, but he's like being really vulgar about it. He's like, your fucking society makes me sick. And it's like that Southern rage, and like that's definitely on here too. And that Laugh It Off, that like sound collage, that shit is bone chilling. That's horrifying.
Did either of you ever play Resident Evil 7? Did either of you ever play Resident Evil 7?
No, but I'd like to.
The family in that game is this album. If you guys ever play that game, you'll know what I mean. If anyone ever hears, like, they'll know what I mean. It's like creepy, kind of inbred, like, I don't know, like horrors beyond, like, I don't know, just like, crawling, like slithering horrors in the swamp or in the bayou of Louisiana, like.
It's like the alcoholic preacher. Yeah, it's like the alcoholic preacher in True Detective Season 1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, True Detective Season 1, definitely a lot of that on here.
That is this album for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with songs like Sister Fucker, parts 1 and 2.
And of course the other song that shall remain nameless.
I don't know what you're talking about. I feel like I need to take a shower after I listen to this album. Which is what you want out of this. It's sludge metal. It's great. Like it's great. It's a great album.
When I finish listening to this album, I feel like I've needed to take a shower for a long time.
Yeah.
Disturbance, like the kind of like middle track that's pretty much instrumental with that looping sample about like how to install a catheter, and then like the second half is just like feedback. I think Disturbance is actually my favorite track.
What about $30 bag?
$30 bag. Although Blank, the opener, is a banger too.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the songs start with like a bass intro that's like, and a lot of the bass intros are like almost indistinguishable from each other.
There's one track that starts with a drum fill or something, or just like maybe not a fill, but it starts with a drums. It was like the only one like that. It was near the end of the album. Was it Who Gave Her the Roses, or maybe it was Crimes Against Skin? I can't remember which. But one of them starts with drums and broke up the album really well. It was kind of jarring, actually. I wasn't expecting it. It's like slight changes like that when this album were really jarring. No, man, this is probably one of my favorites that you've recommended. Probably one of my favorites across the whole Raw Beef, I would say. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, all of the things I said about it being dirty, those are supposed to be good qualities, actually. I love this album.
Yeah, that's what it's trying to do, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So
dude, the riffs are just so fucking like nothing captures the sludge descriptor better than some of the riffs on this album. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. I'm surprised there's this is like almost as much of a hardcore album as sludge metal. It's basically just like hardcore slowed down a lot, and that might be what sludge metal basically is. In fact, that's a decent way to describe it. But I'm surprised Jake loves it so much, considering how much of a hardcore punk influence there is on it.
I don't hate punk as much as I think I do.
Neither do I.
It's an incredibly stupid thing to say, but yeah.
I've developed an appreciation for punk.
There's good stuff in it, yeah.
Definitely. But no, this is a sick album. I actually found this. I think it was probably on my spreadsheet, but I found it as a recommendation from a weightlifting big shot named Jim Wendler. He's a musician. I think he's a bassist and a drummer who makes sludge metal and who talked about Eyehategod on this podcast. And I was like, I've heard that name for years. I should probably give that a listen. And yeah, thank you, Jim Wendler, for the recommendation and for 531.
This definitely is not weightlifting music, so that's interesting.
Not?
No, I don't think so. You think so?
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't think it's that kind.
This is anti-motivational music. This is music to like lay down and just like curl up in a ball too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could definitely see listening to this.
I don't see that at all. But I guess you actually do that, and I don't. So I'll take your word.
Could you listen to Through Silver and Blood while lifting?
Oh fuck yeah.
Okay, that's weird, but
oh god,
I believe you. I feel like that's not a lifting out. I don't feel like I want to do any physical activity when I listen to that. I don't want to do any physical activity anyway, but
could you listen to the destruction of commercial scum while lifting?
I mean, shit. I've listened to Gregorian chant while lifting.
You listen to Ram Ranch while lifting?
Sure. Well, yeah. Usually, it's usually just Ram Ranch. Through. I don't know. I go through the series.
18 naked bodybuilders in the shower at my gym.
I can usually make it through about 30 Ram Ranches in one training session. So get through. But you have a buttered. I get through the whole series.
You'll almost catch up to it.
Not too long.
Having a buttered bully hole is useful when you're trying to lift, when you're trying to make gains.
We went from Eyehategod to Ram Ranch.
That's a pretty natural progression. It's not hard to go from there.
Yeah. Kind of is, like, almost unironically it is.
Yeah.
I can't hear the phrase natural progression without hearing Alex Lassard sing it now.
Who?
Isn't that his name? The dude from
Michael Lassard from
same difference.
From where?
Yeah. Contortionist.
The Contortionist. Mike Lassard, yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to this last one here. Skip ahead 11 years, and we get some Japanese psych rock.
Acid Mother's Temple.
Does the Cosmic Shepherd dream of electric tapirs? Is that how it's pronounced?
Tapirs, yeah.
Tapirs.
Boy.
From Acid Mother's Temple and the Melting Paraiso UFO.
Yeah, Acid Mother's Temple are awesome. I've been into Acid Mother's Temple since college. I did a deep dive in 2012. It's like psychedelic rock for people who actually like psychedelic rock and don't just like go to Coachella. That's like kind of how I would describe Acid Mother's Temple. Did you hear me on that, Jim?
Oh God! Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's brutal.
Man, what band? What artist could you possibly be referring to? There, I can't tell.
Yeah, like true psychedelic music is what Acid Mother's Temple is. It is noisy. It is dirty. It is weird. It is fucking unsettling, but also fun at the same time. It's very eclectic. It's very silly, but also very progressive and like actually has like a standard of musicianship. Acid Mother's Temple have a enormously huge discography, and there are probably like there are probably like 10 albums, like 10 or 15 albums that I would say are like fantastic, like full blown fantastic. so it was kind of hard to choose one. My favorite one is one called The Penultimate Galactic Bordello, and also The World You Made. That's the title. And it's a 4-hour album. It's 4 1-hour songs. And that's probably my favorite one. But I wasn't going to make you guys listen to that for this.
Thanks.
So it was hard for me to choose. Yeah, Jim probably would have liked it. I don't think Jake would have liked it.
I got filtered a little bit by this album.
Yeah, Jake got filtered hardcore by this album.
Yeah, big time.
I did get filtered a little bit. Maybe I don't go to Coachella, but maybe I'm not a true psychedelic rock fan.
No, I didn't think you were. I
like
picked this mainly for Jim because I knew Jim would
I like
probably
Tego Mago. Is that psych rock?
Krautrock. Ooh. Yeah, Krautrock.
Yeah.
There's tons of krautrock in this stuff.
Oh yeah.
I do like that stuff.
But I picked anyway, so it was hard for me to pick which Ask Mothers album to pick because there were a lot of good choices. I picked this one because it kind of like touches on a good amount of the sounds that they tend to do. Like it has the low key like folky psychedelic stuff. It has the long electric guitar jams. It has the ambient. It has all that in pretty equal measure. Yep. So I thought it was a good place to start with the band.
I loved the ambient section in the last track, Transmigration of Hopheads.
The Transmigration of Hopheads. The Transmigration of Hopheads is like, yeah, the Transmigration of Hopheads is actually one of my favorite ambient pieces in general.
Yeah, that was amazing.
It's a fucking amazing ambient piece.
I liked the opener. I like Dark Star Blues. That's an excellent piece of psychedelic rock. I love that track. And the Transmigration of Hopheads.
Daddy's Bare Meat.
Yeah, I like Daddy's Bare Meat. I did not like Susie 16. That song fucked with me. And then Hello Good Child was. I just felt like there was nothing to the song. Susie 16 fucked with me. It was just like these really grating guitars with some girl going.
Yeah, like Susie 16 is fucking stupid, but it's fun. I don't know why it like bothers you so much, Jake.
I don't know. I do shit like
Japanese.
That games
it's
like
weird.
Yeah,
it's weird Japanese shit. It's like Susie 16 is like the kind of weird shit that like you can only get out of Japan. And it's fucking weird. Like I'm not gonna deny it, and I'm not gonna call it good, but I like it still.
It's not good.
I'm not gonna call it good, but it's not really trying to be good in any kind of traditional way. That track.
What concerns me about it is that a lot of psychedelic rock is made to either represent a psychedelic trip or to accompany a psychedelic trip, and God help me if that's what a psychedelic trip is like. I can't imagine that would be fun to listen to. I don't know. I can't say. I can't say. But God help me if that's the case.
Dark Star Blues, I'm sure, would be pretty fun to listen to. Fucked up on various stuff.
So this is what I think of when we talked. This is such a weird way to jump, but I just thought of this because we talked about Devin Townsend's wall of sound, and this to me is a wall of sound. Like there is so many discordant elements happening, like moving across, and you can't. This is an album that I think like almost requires you to listen to it multiple times. Like you can't get all of everything out of it the first time you listen to it. There are too many threads and strands to follow, and especially in a track that's 25 minutes long. And yeah, that to me, this is wall of sound. There are just so many like cacophonous elements being presented at once, and trying to figure out how all those pieces work together was a kind of fun thing to do in subsequent listens. And the first time I listened to it, I just was like, it's one of these things where I listened to it the first time and I don't remember anything about it, and I'm like, I need to listen to this a bunch of times. I get that with a lot of jazz music as well.
Interesting.
And when I listen to it, like I have to listen to it a bunch for it to stick. It's I don't know. It's this long form. It's not in a song format. There's no hook that like grabs you and can help you remember the parts before and after it. It's really music that you need to sit down and engage with multiple times. And so I leave it open that I was just filtered because I wasn't patient with it as I should be.
Well, it's really noisy. Ask Some Others Temple are very, very noisy, and this is not one of their noisiest albums. Their first album and also their second album, Pataphysical Freakout Moo, is insanely noisy. Yeah, the titles are nuts.
Yeah,
titles are ridiculous.
Intentionally so. Like the sense of humor on this stuff, I think is actually legitimately pretty funny.
There's a lot of punny titles I can tell. So
there are a lot of puns on prog and metal songs. They have an album called what's it called? Starless and Bible Black Sabbath.
Yeah, there's a 41st Century Splendid Man, and then there was a Son of a Bitch's Brew, and they have like basically the same album cover.
Son of a Bitch's Brew is awesome.
Look at that.
They have.
That's cool.
Yeah, and
not highly rated.
Susie 16 is also a nod to Susie Cream Cheese.
I think a lot of people.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's tons of Zappa on this too, like tons of Mother stuff. Like some of like the falsetto male voice sounds so much like Roy Estrada, like his weird fucking high pitched stuff. Yeah, exactly. And then like the doo wop stuff, the little doo wop lines.
I think there's a lot of self-awareness on this music, though. I was just gonna say, just like thinking about this, like, I feel like they know that it's weird as hell. Like that's the point of it, rather than it just being like.
Yes, I would say that's the point.
Yeah,
but there is still like there is like I think it is legitimately good music, and there is like a standard of musicianship to it for sure. Like that in Dark Star Blues, like the first like 6 minutes of Dark Star Blues are like that main riff progressing for basically 6 minutes with the vocal. And then it like goes into the guitar solo, and when that guitar solo just like rips in, that shit is beautiful. So I mean, it's really fun music, but it also has like a standard of musicianship and composition, and maybe not composition because a lot of it's jamming, but it's not like it definitely meets a standard of musical quality while being really fun and funny, and music like that is fucking awesome. So.
I was surprised Jim liked it as much as he did, given that it was jammy. I was thinking about that.
This is the kind of jam stuff that I like. I don't like four on the floor fucking like dubstep played by jam bands, which is what so much jam band music is.
That's fair.
Yeah, I had a feeling Jim would like this one, and you did like this one.
This is the kind of jam stuff that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always leave it open. I need to listen to it a few more times. The Artificial Brain album, which I liked the first time I listened to it, like really crushed me like the fifth time I listened to it. And so there's probably need some time.
That album fucking rips.
Yeah, and also
favorites of all the raw beefs.
If you don't listen to like a ton of non-Western music, there is like you do have to code shift a little bit when you listen to stuff that's non-Western, especially stuff that is this strange. Because this
was very much in a Western context, actually.
But there's a Japanese bizarrity to it.
Yes,
there without question.
I agree. I didn't know they were Japanese until earlier this afternoon. Actually, I haven't listened to it knowing that they were Japanese.
Did you think they were like from the UK or something?
I just put the album on. I didn't even think about it. I was just listening.
That's probably a good thing to do. Honestly, not look into it as much. Just listen to it. Yeah.
Not all music has.
They were Japanese.
Not all music has like the quality of the country it's from on the music. Like I'm not like any kind of nationalist at all. So like it even makes me uncomfortable to describe an art aesthetic as Japanese. Like that makes me kind of uncomfortable. But I do think it's kind of accurate sometimes.
I'm going through the canon of Turkish classical music at the moment, which is really like fascinating and interesting.
That's probably awesome.
It's really good. It's really good music. And you just hear. I don't know, just like tracing out. I've been just reading into like the history of that music, and like of course culturally, like Turkey's like I don't know, just like a really interesting cultural nexus of like all sorts of other cultures, and then of course their output as well, and just like tracing their influence on other cultures musically, and like the like Byzantine scales like coming into Turkish classical music, and like what they've output into like Russian classical music and all this stuff, and so. It does really it does start to break down, I think, in a lot of cases, like what's characteristically, like giving it a geographical thing is a little strange sometimes. But
Jake, does your deep dive include the Banagnuk full EP? The 90-second gore noise.
Oh, yes, Banagnuk.
Banagnuk.
That's
a genre I don't think I'll ever be able to appreciate.
Gore
Turkish
noise?
Gore noise.
Yeah, Turkish gore noise.
Gore noise is the only genre I can truly appreciate.
That's fair. It says so much with so little.
I laughed so hard at Vomitoma when I put that on. I have no idea if it's a vocal or a toilet.
It's a pitch shifter. Like I think it's like a pitch shifter.
The vocals sounded like someone was farting into a toilet. That's what it sounded like.
He like a fucking toilet.
He like
dude.
took a pitch shifter and like turned all the dials up to maximum whatever.
Holy sweet Jesus!
This is the producer's touch. Yeah.
But Nagnuk. The EP is a minute and 27 seconds long.
I don't think it's in the canon of Turkish classical music, but I'll throw it in there for context.
It's a micro symphony.
The album cover is fucking wild. I love it though.
All
the tracks are untitled.
1 minute and 34 seconds.
What fucking cringe lord rated this a 1 out of 5? 21-year-old from Germany.
Absolutely filtered by Banagnuk.
Oh God! Did you see how many 0.5s this person's given?
Quite a few.
Yeah, one of the 6 5 out of 5s is Peste Noir.
Oh, that is a really great black metal album.
I'm not saying that album title on while it's recording, but that was one of them.
Jesus fucking Christ! This person hates music.
I want to be based.
This person's incredibly based.
10,000
This person is fucking based.
That's crazy.
Oh, this person fucking hates music. That is based. Oh shit!
And they took the time to listen to and rate the Banagnuk EP.
Which is apparently a 1 out of 5, but not a 0.5 out of 5. There's this person has rated 2,100 fucking albums a 0.5 out of 5, but Banagnuk is a 1.
He thinks that there are 2,000 albums that are worse than Banagnuk.
Jesus Christ!
The internet was a mistake.
It really was.
No fucking kidding, dude. All right. Why don't we rank these bitches? Or do we do stats first? I forget.
Let's rank them first, and I'll run through the stats.
Sick.
Yeah.
I'll go first. This one's pretty easy. 3-1 is Acid Mother's Temple, Eyehategod, and Dead Can Dance.
I'm seconding that exact same.
I thought all three of these were great, but I would go 3 Eyehategod, 2 Acid Mother's Temple, and 1 Dead Can Dance.
Fucked us on the unanimity.
I thought we were going to get into a unanimous.
It's close.
No, I definitely like the Acid Mother's album better than the Eyehategod album.
It was close. That's the first time Anthony's given me his favorite album, so it's a moment in history.
Oh fuck yeah!
I mean, honestly, like the Dead Can Dance and the Acid Mothers are close, but there's a particular transcendent quality to the Dead Can Dance that pushes it above.
I almost wish I picked Spleen and Ideal. I was thinking about that. But yeah, both are really good. All right, so when was the last time we did a raw beef? Was it 2 months ago or something like that? It's been a while.
Let's see here.
There have been some changes here. Nothing's like significant. Anthony's a lot of his stuff is appreciating in value, I will say. But the fans deserve to know whose taste is best.
It's been about 3 months. We haven't done a raw beef since February 1st.
Yeah, so yeah, some stuff has changed. I'll go. Yeah, so first, bringing up the rear is me, 3.55. I added a couple points there. But
yeah, with Dead Can Dance for sure.
That's the only reason I picked it. I didn't even listen to the album. I just knew it was good, so I added it to my list. Anthony is
based yet cringe.
Incredibly based. Anthony's in second with 3.62. So I noticed, I wanted to note a couple. So Warmest Sun and Winter, I believe, actually jumped up to a 3.52. So I thought that was interesting because it was like a 3.47 or something.
That album
like
was
for
amazing. I hope that more and more
the
people.
Butternotes podcast did that.
We probably did that. Yeah.
I hope more and more people
our effect.
listen to that album. Not that it's that
really
obscure, but I fucking love
It's
that
hard to
album.
find on streaming stuff, so it's probably difficult for a lot of people to listen to it. And then Tatareya jumped up to a 3.5, which I was happy to see. That was really cool.
Yeah, that Tapirs album should be way more popular than it is.
Yeah,
For real, dude. Everyone on Earth would love that fucking album.
I played it for
in the
my
car with
dad.
my family, and they
You
liked
don't
it.
have a soul.
Yeah.
I played it for
Yeah.
my dad, knowing that he would love it, and he did. And it's
Yeah.
not normally the kind of thing he would listen to on his own.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then James is at a 3.68. Anthony's catching up to you though. It's really interesting. Your average is a 3.68, and you like if I were to plot your albums, you're like precise on your average for like most of your albums. You crop up around there. It's really interesting.
I pick them that way on purpose. I don't care
Fucking-
about the actual music.
Fucking
Based.
based. Yeah, incredibly based. So picks by country, USA is still number 1, 13 out of 33. UK was 6 out of 33, and the Netherlands is the only one with 2, with my 2 super obscure albums that I've picked.
I still have no earthly idea how you found Folia.
I don't either. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
It
That
doesn't make
was
sense.
Belgium, but still, that was another obscure.
Same difference.
Yeah. And then there are 12 countries with just 1. Norway, Germany, Mexico, Poland, Hungary, Greece, Canada, South Korea, Belgium, Switzerland, and then we added Japan and Australia to this episode. Let's see. Top 5 highest rated albums. So Deceit is still number 1 with a 3.96. And then Zen Arcade is a 3.9. And then Within a Realm is number 3 now with a 3.89. Then Max and Match, then the Survivor Suite, which lost a couple points, I noticed, for some
Whoever
reason.
would rate that less than a 5,
Yeah.
I mean, it's their opinion, but I think
Survivor
that's
Suite?
fucking stupid. Yeah, the Survivor
really-
Suite.
That Survivor Suite lost it, yeah.
Yeah. Just like a little bit. Not much, but
I
still.
mean, I rated it a 1, but
I rated it a 0.5. It was terrible.
I rated Benagnuk a 1.5 but Survivor
Yeah,
Suite's a
Benagnuk
1.
is better than Lord Help Us. That's
Benagnuk
the
is
new
way
meme
better
album.
than the Survivor Suite by Keith Jarrett.
Lord Help Us. Fucking Benagnuk. Lowest rated albums. So since last time, Donoribus Pacum has lost a couple points. It's now at a 3.14. I dropped the rating down a bit. You guys peer
Jake,
pressured me.
I thought that was a divine album.
Well, it is. It's just not appreciated by the masses, and so I had to like lower my power level a little bit just to make you guys feel more comfortable with it.
Oh,
You
thank
had to
you.
bring yourself
Thank you.
You had to bring yourself down to
I could tell it was a
humanity.
little intimidating, like when I talk about it, and you guys were like, "Oh, I don't." So just to make you guys feel a little more comfortable, I dropped it.
Well, that was a
Man
selfless
was not
act.
ready for
Thank
the
you so
beatific
much.
vision.
No.
Yeah.
Man was not ready for the beatific vision.
No, we weren't. And Jake was selfless enough to stoop to our levels, so thank you.
Second lowest rated is Juicy Fruit by Kraken Smack. It gained a couple points. I noticed somebody gave it a 4.5. The account name was like Aristotle's Tesseract. I don't know who that was, but that guy was pretty cool. I think.
That's just your other account.
What is it?
That's just your other
I've never read
account.
Aristotle. What is a Tesseract? No, that wasn't the guy's name. I don't know actually who it was. 3 is the third lowest is Acid Mothers, and then there's a 3-way tie for 5 with 3.42, which is Fallujah, The Way Is Red, and Folia. The Way Is Red. I'm so surprised.
The Way Is Red, man. That is, people are sleeping on that shit. That's such a fucking awesome.
Yeah,
album.
That's a good one.
I don't understand that one.
I love that album. It fucking hits me, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Then just quickly by the years here, we've got James is really this actually tracks. So his average year is 1991, which puts it about 31 years, which is right around the time that James is going to listen to something. So I think that makes sense. His most common years 81 and 84. Anthony's at 2001 average with a most common of 2004 and 2014, and then I'm at 2002 with the most common of 2014, which altogether puts us at 1998 with a mode of 2014, and we spanned 2020 or 1977 and 2020 with our albums. And then
Fuck, we're sophisticated.
we're pretty fucking sophisticated.
God, it's fucking awesome.
I added 2 other categories I thought were interesting. Just really quickly, I averaged up all of the raw beefs, and raw beef 7 and 8 are tied at 3.74. Those are our highest raw beefs we did. So that was
What were those episodes again?
7 was Zen Arcade, After Crying, and Million Town. And 8 was Communion by Septic Flesh. I think that was Annihilator, and Survivor's Suite was 8. Our lowest was Raw Beef number 1. And then I also started a Hall of Fame for albums.
What were those? It was Rat,
Fallujah, and
Believe and Fallujah.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
That's a weird combo.
I also started a Hall of Fame. So these are albums where we all picked them as 5 out of 5. And I'm not saying these are necessarily great albums or anything, but I just thought it was a miracle that we could all agree on some 5 out of 5s. So those 3 are As Falls Wichita, The Survivor Suite, and Within the Realm of a Dying Sun. So those are our Hall of Fame albums.
Platinum
albums, yeah.
That's a hell of a. I mean, fuck those. It's a hell of a tier with those 3 albums there.
Yeah.
But Nagnuk would probably make it platinum if I picked it.
You shouldn't have shown us to it so early.
Yeah,
I've already listened to it 45 times.
I played my cards too fast with that. I'm gonna go.
I've listened to that album on loop 45 times. It took about the amount of time it takes to listen to one album.
It would. It's about an hour and a half. That's crazy.
All right, well, good shit. We'll come back at you with Raw Beef 12
tomorrow.
I don't know.
Tomorrow.
Whatever the fuck we feel like it, I guess.